I mean, do you like
Of course,
spend time alone in reflection? Your father, your brothers, the whole thing.
yeah, but I mean, even though when Gary was alive, I mean, he lived in Monrovia, and that's about 35 miles from here, and we didn't, right, we might go 2 months and not see each other.
That's typical though, of
Yeah.
brothers. That's
And Gary was a very unique person. If Gary called me, I mean, he just wouldn't go, "Hey, Merle, how you doing? You know, what's going on?" He was asking for something.
oh yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe he wanted his $5,000 back.
no, I offered.
Did you?
I offered the 5 grand.
Oh
Yes,
Lord.
no chance. So, but it was just, and it's almost like there. He was so focused on being a race driver, and I don't know I mean, there could be something in there that he was so focused on being better than his dad, and I don't think so, but we talked once, and it was about what we'll do. This is right after we start having some success in racing, is that we'll win the first, Gary, Tony, or I, whoever wins the first race, that's not ours. We give that one to our dad.
Of course.
So the second win that any of us got was going to be the only one that we owned, because the first one was going to be given to our dad, and
As it should be.
yeah, absolutely. But it just it wasn't designed to be. But I mean, my God, what?
What you wouldn't give to sit down with your father or your
yeah,
brothers?
I mean, this is you'll love this story. Now, I live on the west side of Indy,
How close are we to the motor
about
speedway?
5 miles.
Really? We're that close, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have so many feelings about me, my life, my father, my dad, but this, and I want you to imagine how you would feel. I go in West 10th Street, okay? It's IU Medical West. It's a brand new hospital to get my radiation treatment. I had to go in 43 consecutive weekdays. And there's 3 radiation people in there, ladies between 45 and probably 25. I do, and after the second day, the oldest one says, "Bettenhausen, now you be part of the family?" And I said, "Yeah, I am," because I told my dad, and he said, "Oh, they got to be part of the family." So, yeah, so I'm Merle. I'm I'm the only one alive now. Gary died in 70, or excuse me, in 14, and Tony died in 2000. So anyway, so I'm doing treatments, and then they started asking me more questions. So I took a book in, and I gave it to all the technicians and the nurses, and they could take it home, and their dad could see it and everything else. And you go in there, and you lay under this machine. So anyway, it takes about 8 or 10 minutes each day, and I get down. Now we've talked about the racing and so on and so forth, and so I get down, and I'm pulling my pants up, and the 45-year-old girl, she goes to me, she goes, "The paparazzi caught up to you, Merle." And I pulled my pants up. I said, "What?" She said, "The paparazzi caught up to you." So I'm pulling my pants up, and I remembered there was a new guy that came in the little waiting room that we sat in, and he had a mask on. You can't recognize anybody anymore, and he said, "Yeah, we've got a new customer, and he's coming in next." And he said that he saw you and thought it was you. I said, "Well, I'll introduce myself." So I go out there and I say hello to him. And he goes, "Hi, Merle." He said, "I thought that was you in the waiting room here, but yeah, I'm part of the Indy 500 Old Timers Club. I've seen you in the Old Timers room." And he goes, will you sign my book tomorrow?" if I bring it in. I said, oh, sure. So I, so here I go. I'm 77 years old now. My daddy died 59 years ago. Gary's gone 6 years. Tony's gone 20 years. And I'm the last man standing. And someone asked me to autograph a book. So I come in the next day, and the guy's hung this Bettenhausen book. He opens it up, and there's Gary's autograph, Tony's autograph.
Wow.
And now imagine how you would feel, and I just made the statement. I said, here's my daddy, died when he was 44, and he's going, all that discipline probably worked pretty good. My kids have kept me alive for 59 years. And I mean, I'm so honored, I'm so humbled, and I tell everybody, I said, when you look at me, you don't see me. I represent 4 people right now. I represent my dad over here, and Gary and Tony over here. And so I've got to represent 4 Bettenhausens at once now.
I can see it and feel it, all that in you. I can see that representation.
I could start crying now, and it so humbles me. I mean, I don't ever try to be any better than anybody or any different than anybody, but it's such an honor to think, and it's like I think of what my dad's thinking now. I did a pretty good job raising those kids.
He is.
They kept me alive for 59, and I'm still going.
And we're going to keep that name alive for many more decades to come, and that's part of the reason I'm here. No, I want to tell you just a quick story. I got to get my scrapbook. So I remember this like it was yesterday. It was the Terre Haute action track, about 1971. You were racing that day, as your brother Gary was, USAC sprint car race, and you didn't know me. I was just some little kid, and like yesterday, we were on the front stretch. The race is over. It's still light out. You got your leg up on a trailer. There's a sprint car on the back. I don't even remember if it was yours. You were trying to have a conversation with another guy, and I wouldn't leave you alone. And finally you succumbed. You finally gave in, and and you paid attention to me is where I'm going, and you had a conversation that was probably about 5 minutes with me, because you knew I wasn't going to leave you alone, and you finally said, hey, this little kid here, I got to do the right thing, and I got to talk to this kid. And you talked to me, and we laughed, and you joked, and you pulled my hat over my face, and it was one of my greatest moments as youth. As a little kid, you don't forget those things. And I left that conversation that day. We drove all night. It was Sunday. They raced at Terre Haute on Sundays. And I left there thinking that I was Merle Bettenhausen's best friend. Wow. And I went home and I told everybody at school that I am now Merle Bettenhausen's best friend. And in my mind, I guess I was. But it was, and that's what endeared me to you for so many years. Because of, and I never got that from Gary. Gary was always too focused, but you made time for me, and that's a big deal. And that's a lesson that some drivers today still don't get, how important the fans are, and what they mean. And I just wanted to show you this, by the way. I brought my photo album. Oh yeah, Raleigh Beal, the 11 car. I'm gonna flip right through this stuff. We'll be here all day if I don't. I gotta get to the grit here, but I have all this stuff, Raleigh and
that's the 3 car.
Yeah, rodeo bar car and Larry Dixon, Eldora.
Larry's trying, isn't he?
Yeah, he's hunched over. What'd I say? Gil Hess lost his life at Salem. That's Sammy Sessions, of course. Johnny Parsons, Bill Vukovich sitting on his lap at Nazareth. That was a big moment for me. That's me and Bill Vukovich. But here you go. That was my first autograph from you.
Oh, wow.
1971 official program, then your crash. And there's the car, that's the autograph you gave
Yeah.
to me with my name on it this time. My name was Bubba. They called me Bubba. You called me Bub. You don't remember, but that's okay. Bub, best of luck, Merle Bettenhausen. You wrote that with your hook.
Right. Yeah. Well, that is so cool. But anyway, I started to say, I was trying to figure out how to sign autographs with one hand because you hand me a piece of paper or a book, I can't.
Were you right-handed?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's actually 3 of them. So you got 2 out of the 3.
There's the right and the left and the hook.
Yeah. So I thought, well, maybe if I put the hook in here and I worked them together like this, just with moving the left hand and the hook stayed mostly stable. But actually, the hook autograph's better than the left hand.
I don't know about that. They're both precious to me. They both really meant a lot to me, and they still do today. Do you so how do you fill your days these days? I mean, is it pretty low key?
Up until COVID, I every Monday I volunteered at the VA hospital for about 8 hours. I would go room to room in visitation and just talk to all the guys that were there and make conversation and that kind of thing. And then I had another veterans group that met in Greenwood down where I used to work. And then Wednesday I'd usually do something with just a couple of buddies. And weekend I got 7 grandkids. I mean, there's 5 here and 2 in.
That's plenty.
Yeah, and then a lot of sporting events, and there were grandkids are football players, but all my days start on my treadmill,
You lay down a couple miles every day, don't you?
Yes,
That's fantastic.
And I've been a vegetarian, like I say, but I haven't weighed as little as I weigh now. I don't ever remember weighing 150.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 149.6 this morning, and I take 1/2 a pill for my heart skips a beat. I take no blood pressure, no cholesterol, nothing.
That's largely attributed to your diet.
But yes.
I mean, I wish I didn't love red meat and all that, because I firmly believe I do eat red meat. I do try to limit it, but I firmly believe that the less animal product we take in,
Right.
the healthier we're going to be, period. The more you can stick to a plant-based diet, I mean, your blood pressure goes down, you eliminate your sugar, your cholesterol is not a problem, not an issue.
I'll drink a few pops during the day.
Okay, all right.
But you know what
we'll
else?
let you off on
When
that.
the day I found out I had prostate cancer, I have not had a piece of pie, a piece of cake, a piece of candy, a dish of ice cream. I have not had one bite of sugary substance. This is the only thing I do.
I'd stay with that plan. Do you watch racing on TV? Do you care anymore?
I watch it. I watch the beginning and watch the end, and it's a good time to nap in the middle or go shopping or do something. But I went to Robin. I don't know if you know, but Robin has a racer lunch. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but he has one on Friday.
Robin Miller?
Robin Miller. He's had one for like 15 years over here.
He's an interesting character.
He's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man.
I'd like to meet him. I'd like to
Have you
interview
ever
him. I've never met Robin Miller. He doesn't even know I live, but I'd like to interview him.
That would be quite a story. You'd probably have more to talk about with it.
Well, I mean, the way he lets it all hang out. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to talk about
But
cutting to the chase.
He's one of my dearest friends, and I just, but the week was pretty involved. It's not now, but you know what? I tell everybody, I've been here for 23 years. I love this place. If you got to penalize me and make me stay somewhere.
This is it for you.
Yeah.
It's very comforting. I like it here too.
Yeah. This is my, and I don't spend much time out here because I don't invite a lot of people. I'm an outward going guy, but a very personal guy.
Yeah. You can be alone and be okay.
Absolutely.
I'm the same way. I'm a loner, and my alone time is really important to me. Do you is the Indianapolis 500 still the greatest race on planet Earth?
Oh yeah.
No,
It's not the greatest race. It's the greatest event on planet Earth.
Sure, I'm right with you. I'm right with you. I mean, I know people have their taste and beliefs, and some people really love the Daytona 500, and the Daytona 500 is a very cool race. But the most prestigious, the most exciting, with the most pageantry, the most history, the most tradition, the greatest event on earth
Yes.
is always going to be the Indianapolis 500. For me, it's not even up
yeah.
for debate.
Right.
I mean, it's so Americana since 1911. I mean, come on. Something.
What they need to, Daytona is they need to run about 20 laps, which is start everybody, race, and then end it. And you don't need all those 180 laps in the middle.
It's all just a formality.
Yeah.
Let's just run a 50 lapper
Just to
and
get
get.
to 200, to
Yeah.
500. I mean, because everything is positioning early on, who's got the muscle,
Yeah.
and then it's positioning to be up front at the end. I mean,
Yeah, but no. You know what? Before I forget, did you know Bill Vukovich Sr.?
yes.
I really consider him the greatest Indy 500 driver of all time. Nobody led more laps in such a short space, 1952 through 1955.
Right.
Had he lived, he would have led and won a lot more. He'd be the all-time winner right now. I don't think there was a greater Indy 500 driver in our history than Bill Vukovich Sr. I'm mesmerized by
He
him.
should have won 4 years in a row.
Right, he should have won 52, but broke
Now,
right
granted,
there.
he
at the end.
came out with the Roadster, so he had a distinct advantage. That
He
first
did,
year.
but you know that one year, what was it, 53, I think, when it was so hot, and every driver in the field needed relief because it was too hot,
When you're
except
leading, you don't need relief.
except Vukovich.
Well, yeah, when you're leading, you don't, you don't need.
He-
There's, being one, you know, you don't get tired. It's just.
You know, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, not as far, but about 1970, I wanted to just briefly touch on this. Now, you know, when they took the Champ Dirt Car Series away from the points, that was the worst thing that USAC
ever did.
The downfall of IndyCar racing started at that exact moment when they took the dirt cars off the points, about 1970-ish. The proof is in the drivers. You know, your A.J. Foyt, Mario Andretti, the Unsers, Rutherford, they continued to race at Springfield, DuQuoin, and the Hoosier 100 well into the mid and late 70s, even though the points didn't matter or count.
Just
But
a
they
couple
loved
of
it
them,
that.
Just a couple of them.
But they did.
Right.
A lot of A.J. Foyt did.
Yeah.
And but you know, you want to be a complete champion, and I want to see, you know, Will Power or Marco Andretti or Scott Dixon on the Springfield Mile Dirt. DuQuoin. I mean, that's what that thing is all about, the diversity and the versatility. I think they should right now say, you want to be the Indy car champion, then you're going to run Springfield, DuQuoin, and the Hoosier 100 every year. They can't do that in 2021. That schedule's already done, but they could do it in 2022, and they should do it. They're not going to, but they should.
Well, if you remember too, they incorporated some road course races. So you ran ovals, road course races, and dirt races.
Right.
I think. Oh, Robin would just.
Would he be with me on this?
Oh, yeah.
Thank
his
God.
exact quote is you. That everything started going down, and they became prima donnas.
Well, they got too big for their dirt track britches.
yeah.
I mean, look at NASCAR. What are they doing this year? They're going to cover their pristine Bristol Motor Speedway with mud.
Make it dirt.
It took them 40 years to figure that out,
Right,
that
yeah,
people want it. And you know what? And when the Indy 500 stars went away from Springfield and DuQuoin, the audiences started to trickle away. You know, bring them back.
Do you think the shows that are put on by NASCAR or IndyCar, I mean, they're entertainers. I mean, that's what we do, and sometimes the entertaining part that we did years ago, you could get hurt or get killed, but people came to watch. Now, some guy said, "You mean to tell me you'll spend all day, go 500 miles, and end up where you started?" I mean, what does that prove? I mean, so just be a layman and think of that. Well, yeah, that is kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is. I mean,
Spend all day.
I got, you know, Mario and AJ, they loved running those mile dirts.
Yeah.
And they didn't, and I've talked to Al Unser about this. He was really upset when they took those races away. Well, he was good at them, but he loved it, you know? And you couldn't, when those Indy 500 stars were running the champ dirt cars at Springfield and DuQuoin, you could not find a seat. You were right down to the rail when you could sit that
Well,
close.
do you know that
Now you could shoot a can through
Indy
the
500
place.
was the #1 paying race, and the Hoosier 100 was second.
It should be that way now.
Yeah.
I want to
Although
see Scott Dixon back it in at
the-
DuQuoin.
the track.
I'd tell those owners, go buy a dirt car, because they were going on the schedule in 2022.
My second IndyCar race was 1970. And you will remember this. Do you remember when the guy came and picked up the dirt car and took it to Sacramento? 1970. That was my second dirt car race, and that was AJ Foyt's old car, and your stepdad,
Ron Kilman.
Ron Kilman,
Who just passed away.
he told me that. Yeah, because I ran Springfield, and then I was a big shot because I got experience. So and Willie Kay from New Zealand, my buddy that I drove for when I went to New Zealand back in the late '60s, he picked the car up, and it was Tom Steiner and Willie Kay. It was three of us, and we hooked it behind my blue station wagon, my famous blue Chevy station wagon. We went out to Sacramento, and I ran 7th. But the point I'm leading up to is that I remember getting lapped by Al Unser, okay, in the Viceroy car, I think it was.
Yep.
He won the race, and he had just flown in from winning Pocono.
Wow. And that's, think about if we could have those days again.
Yeah, right.
When Scott Dixon flew in from pick your place, you know, and line up on the mile dirt. I mean, it would bring it all back around, and I think it would grow the fan base. I mean, the fans are now dictating what's going to go, and guys like, sanctions like NASCAR are finally starting to catch on that. Any regrets?